As many of you are well aware, Viagra is an incredibly expensive drug. As of today, it sits at over $50 for one pill. So for 30 pills, a 1 month supply, it's $1,500. And as a result, a lot of people go online to these online pharmacies, or they go the supplement route, which is basically a bunch of untested stuff that may or may not work. If it does work, it's filled with a bunch of chemicals that are not FDA approved and may be potentially dangerous. But when the alternative is paying $50 for one pill, people are prepared to live a lot more dangerously. So what I'm going to do today is a public service of sorts. I'm going to explain to you how you can get Viagra, not for $50 a pill, but for $1 a pill. And not from some online pharmacy or from some mysterious source. I'm going to explain to you how to get it from your local Walgreens, CVS, any United States pharmacy for $1 a pill. In order to understand how and why this works, we need to know a little bit of history of Viagra. Viagra is also known as sildenafil. Sildenafil is the generic name for Viagra. It's the compound name for the brand name Viagra. And sildenafil was originally designed to treat something completely different. It was originally designed for pulmonary arterial hypertension. So during the clinical trials, when it was being approved for pulmonary arterial hypertension, they noted all the side effects as they do normally during clinical trials, and one of those side effects that was noted was prolonged erections. So after sildenafil was approved to treat pulmonary arterial hypertension, it was given the brand name Revatio. But it's still the same compound. And then what they did after this trial, they said, well, why don't we approve it for erectile dysfunction? So if you want to sell a drug in the United States, you've got to have a clinical trial for the specific indication. Just because you notice the side effect was X, and you can say, well, we could use it to treat this condition. If you want insurance companies to pay for it, and if you want to be able to advertise and sell it in the United States, you have to conduct a clinical trial. So what happened was, after this drug was approved for pulmonary arterial hypertension, sildenafil Revatio, same thing as Viagra, they did another clinical trial for Viagra, and then they went through the FDA approval process, they did clinical trials, it was approved, and then now we have Viagra on the market. Now pay attention here, because this is why we're going to be able to get Viagra for cheap. Because it was not discovered until during the clinical trials of Revatio, sildenafil, that it had these erectile dysfunction effects, right? The patent of Revatio was implemented before the patent of Viagra. They weren't implemented at the same time. So therefore, the patent of Revatio is going to expire before the patent of Viagra. And in fact, the patent of Revatio has already expired. It's been expired for a few years. So therefore, there is generic sildenafil in US pharmacies, in your Walgreens, in your CVS. So what you can do is just buy the generic Revatio, sildenafil. The only difference between the sildenafil of Revatio and the sildenafil of Viagra is the strength of the tablet. For pulmonary arterial hypertension, the Revatio is dosed as a 20 milligram tablet 3 times a day. And for Viagra, it comes in 25, 50, and 100 milligram tablets. So how much you would need to take to receive a comparable dose of the Viagra will just depend on the strength of the Viagra you take. So if it's a 25 milligram tablet, then you have to take 1 1/4 of the Revatio. If it's a 50, then it's 2 1/2, and if it's 100, well, you got to take 5. But either way, the price of a bottle of generic sildenafil, generic Revatio, is about $50-ish. So, and that's for a 90 count bottle, mind you. So for the price of one Viagra pill of a 50 milligram tablet, we'll use it as an example, they're all the same price. It doesn't matter if you get 25, 50, or 100, they're all the same price. So it doesn't matter which one it is, but let's just use the 50 as an example. So if you buy a 150 milligram Viagra tablet, you can buy an entire bottle for the same price of generic Revatio. Both of them are sildenafil. It's the same thing. So 20 milligrams a tablet. So you'd have to take 2 1/2 to get the same amount. They cost about the same price. So you're looking at about paying $1, like $1.08, $9, like $1.10 basically, for the same amount. So you're paying $1.10 per pill instead of 50. And if you were taking the 100 milligram tablet, well, then you'd be paying $2 a pill. And if you were taking the 25, well, then it'd be half. Then you'd be paying 50 cents a pill. In order to take advantage of this, all you need to do is go to your doctor's office, and instead of having them write Viagra, you just have them write sildenafil 20 milligrams. Then you just take this script, you go to your local pharmacy, any pharmacy, CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, Publix, mail order pharmacies, you drop off your script, and that's it. And if they try to run it through your insurance, make sure you tell them that you want to pay cash for it, because if you run it through the insurance, it's going to say it needs a prior authorization, and that's because of the pulmonary arterial hypertension. You have to have a right heart, you have to have a catheterization, and it doesn't really matter. You're not going to meet the criteria. They're never going to pay for it. It's an excluded benefit. No one ever pays for Viagra, so don't even bother, okay? Just tell them you want to pay cash for it. They'll charge you whatever the amount is, however many pills you want. It's about $50 for a bottle of 90, and then you're done. Then you can go home and enjoy yourself and have a great weekend. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.